Romero, great to connect in real life. We have obviously been following each other. I mean, I've been really following you closely on, LinkedIn and stuff because, I love it. You're what we were saying when we were having a smoothie together is somebody who's kind of doing it on your own terms, taking the lessons from the past, building your own pathway for the future. So I want to get into mentorship and life and family and struggles and all of that stuff, bro. But before we get into that, can I just get you to do a quick intro on who you are? But, bro, can I do it a special way?
Yeah.
When I'm in schools, I ask students when they're interviewing to ask people 3 key questions. Who are you? What do you do? And why do you do it?
Yeah.
So should we just start with the who are you?
Yeah. So, talofa lava. My name is Romero Tagi. I'm a proud husband and father of 3 girls. First and foremost as well, I'm a son of God, and so I hold my faith dear to my heart. What do I do? I like to call myself a serial entrepreneur. I have a number of ventures, but essentially I'm just passionate about working with people. God's given me a purpose to glorify His name in the marketplace, and that's what really drives me. And He's given me gifts of working with people and creating opportunities. And just to be more detailed in terms of what I do, I started off running a business 7 years ago, or 7 years ago, running an events business. I have a background in sport and rec business, and so it was started off as a passion project. And then I just started, getting funding for it. I learned my craft in business, started selling event packages, and whilst building my career, my professional career in relationship management roles across government, community, and the corporate sector. And then fast forward to, actually I ran a number of side hustles during COVID. Fast forward to today, I left my corporate job, in November last year to pursue all my ventures and start a new consultancy where I help businesses and NGOs get funding. And branding is a tool to help people tell their story. And so it's been an awesome journey, like you said, being able to dictate my own terms, but also a challenging journey, which I'm keen to unpack in this podcast. But thank you for having me, bro.
Dude, it's awesome to have you, and it's awesome to explore all of this stuff with you. Let's pick up on that first point about leaving something. I feel like I guess there's a conversation about faith here and the parallels between taking the leap.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I am on my faith journey. I think I'm a very spiritual person. I think I conduct myself like that, like the way I describe it as, I can't prove to you that my wife and I love each other, but I believe there's something there.
Yeah.
And I think maybe faith is like that too, that you can't see it, but you can feel it. And it's there, especially when you need it. But what kind of courage... what made you take that leap?
Yeah. I guess growing up, faith's going to be a common theme in this conversation because that's my foundation. And growing up in a traditional Samoan household where there was 6 o'clock prayers every day, reading the Bible, going to Sunday school, eating lollies at church, it was just second nature for me. And it wasn't until I left school and kind of started making my own decisions around how I want to live my life that I learned about who I want to be in this world and really my foundations. And give praise and thanks to my parents for instilling those values, and as well as my grandparents for their constant prayers for me. And sometimes, as you're growing up, you take that for granted. And so I've always had that foundation of faith as my values, but becoming a father also has made me realize, and entrepreneurship, that actually there's a whole lot of things that I need to work on in myself to be the man that I want to be. And because my purpose is to glorify God's name in the marketplace, which is what's real clear to me. During my career, I was torn. I was always torn because I'm working with these amazing businesses. I'm doing a lot, developing my skill sets. People are seeing the value in what I do, but I'm not seeing the value in myself. And it was really until I started like and when I like the people I work with say, bro, you're mean. You're like, bro, you should do this yourself, And I'm like, yeah, I should. And so I didn't know what I wanted to do last year, but I just registered a company. I had companies like side businesses, but really like to work for myself, I started my consultancy, and I didn't know what that was going to be, but it was just based on my clients, like the questions people are asking me. How do you get funding? How do you start a business? How does this work in business? And because I've done that for the last 5-6 years, I'm like, man, I'm sharing this knowledge just because I love helping people. And then so I always felt torn. And it wasn't until I was getting these questions more and more that, man, God, what are you saying to me? What are you saying to me? And you talk about faith, bro. Faith is believing in what's unseen, and you can't have faith if you don't, and if you can see, faith is always what's believing in the unseen, right? And so I've been like praying about it and asking God, give me confirmation. And I guess a testimony to the actual leap of faith where I made that decision was, it was a God thing for me. And I remember going to a church conference, and one of the guys from church, we caught up for coffee, having a chat, just like a normal lad chat. And then he followed up with me after the church service that evening. He's like, bro, God put something on my heart, and I wanted to share with you. And it's like, you got to make a decision, and you need to make it now. And him not knowing that I was torn with like decisions to leave my job and like a decision that I need to make for my family. He didn't know that. And so, man, if that wasn't confirmation, then it wasn't. So that following Monday, that was a Thursday, I took a sickie on a Friday, prayed about it, spoke to my wife, resigned on Monday. And I had my 4 weeks notice. And, and that was a big leap of faith. And that was the moment for me in terms of, hey, if God's confirmed this, who am I to, if God the Almighty was able to create the earth in 7 days, so who am I to question? 6 days, actually he rested on 7. Who am I to question what his confirmation of what I need to do? And so that leap of faith meant that I left my job, 6-figure paying job, grateful to have, and then going into the unknown. But this time around, I've had some business lessons that I've learned where I've made business decisions where I've taken on a bit of debt and I've suffered from that. But this time around, me leaving my job, I had some secure money that was actually already signed. So that's the wisdom that's come through my entrepreneurship journey. And so the following November 1st was my first day as my own boss. Man, I remember the day.
Wow.
Just opening the room because I had been fitting out an office and whatnot, that a room that I had to do my own work, and opening the door to the office and just feeling that sense of freedom. Anyways, I had some money planned for the next 3-4 months that I knew, this is enough leeway. But right before the Friday, it would have been October 30th or 31st, before the Monday on the 1st, I just received, God bless me and put, I've never had, let's just say I never had as much money in my bank account. And so I picked up a contract, I picked up a client, I was meeting people, and that was just confirmation that, man, I just need to be obedient to what these things have been put in my heart.
Yeah.
And people that may not have as close to their faith or may not be that inclined, I compare it to trusting your gut. So I just had that gut feeling that, okay, this is the right thing to do. So I really had like that springboard to go out, and I built a website. I went out and did some projects, and I let my clientele dictate how I should kind of create my business. And so in terms of going back to your question, bro, around the leap of faith, that's kind of where it kind of started. And I'm still learning, bro. I'm still out there trusting in God and relying on my faith to kind of pull through. And it's just about chipping at every day.
I hadn't considered that in this podcast series, that God might be a mentor. It's funny,
Wow.
Because I'm sure you are like, no, that's normal.
But bro, well, what's funny? When you go to me mentorship, I was like, bro, how can I share advice about mentorship when first of all, like, I look at myself and I'm like, oh yeah, I have mentored some people, but I felt kind of like an imposter myself.
Yeah.
But then you raised the question about where do I get a lot of my guidance and advice? I do have a lot of great people around me, a lot of mentors, I would say, that have given me advice, but ultimately, yeah, God has been the one that's kind of helped me give that leap of faith.
So it's also interesting for me because, like I said, I don't know where I sit.
Yeah.
And I've said this for years because, something about the way I was raised where I would float between cultures, and especially when I was young, it wasn't obvious to me. I just remember these kind of times of going to like aunties and we'd eat with our hands, and then we'd go to other aunties and eat with 7 knives and forks. And I'd be like, I just thought it was normal.
Yeah.
And so I still think about that when I think about faith.
Yeah.
That I will just float through these energies and nothing's formalized for me, but I conduct myself in a very spiritual way. And I just think it's interesting that in my world, a lot of people like yourself are popping up who have a better understanding about where faith sits. And like, sometimes I do, because I don't have the practice of, prayer, for example, I wonder how I am, what coping mechanisms I'm using,
Bro, and man, I say this like I think upon reflection, and at times where I had that calm space in my head, and I think, man, if I didn't have God, how would I've gone through all the kind of hardships in my life, and that's what kind of is, I wouldn't say coping mechanism. It's my strength, and the highs and lows, I thank God and gratitude. Like, one of the common things where, as an entrepreneur, you can feel anxious and worried about what's going to happen next. But if you, like, for me, every day my prayer when I wake up, first thing is, thank you, Lord, for this day. Thank you for the air that I breathe. Thank you for the sun that shines on me. Because if you show gratitude, there's no room for anxiety, no anxiousness. So if you have a heart of gratitude and thanks, then that kind of lightens the worries and the things that you have as a man, as a father, as the leader of your household. And so that's how I look on it in terms of, gratitude and.
I think one of the things we did when we were having our smoothie, and I hardly ever have smoothies, but that was an awesome smoothie.
Trying to be healthy, bro.
is to, I guess, reflect on this idea that, one of the things that's quite tricky about this entrepreneurial journey is, it's very kind of like not sure if, it's not secure, and I think we have to trust in ourselves and our ideas and build as you go and all of those things. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about how you process things is you mentioned, you handed in your resignation and then you just started going for it. And I've felt that now for a few years, like this endless energy. And I wonder to myself, man, am I going to burn out here? And it doesn't seem to be happening because I'm moving towards things that I want to be. Like even today, this could be a podcast, this could be a network building, this could even be potential work together in the future. And I love this idea that there's this whole other energy which I hadn't anticipated. I haven't had a sick day.
There's no sick days, bro. You don't have annual leave.
I literally
you can create your own annual leave, though.
I employed my son. He's got annual leave, but I don't. And I think it's so hilarious. But talk to me about that energy that you've maybe harnessed on this journey.
Bro, it's the hustle way. Like, as entrepreneur, it can be your downfall as well. Like, you need to be able to switch off. And that's what I learned. Like, and it's hard, bro. Like, I've always been that one, like, what's next, what's hustle? But when, like, that's why I really worked on myself and like my purpose, and like I need to learn. I've really, because that's your filter, right? Your values, that's your values, and your purpose is your moral compass. So when you're going about your day and you think about your time, okay, I value my family. Okay, well, if you really valued your family, look at your calendar. How much time do you spend? And so when I look at my calendar, I'm still working on it, but we talked about it, bro. I hated the rush when I was working a 9 to 5 of, hurry up, I got a 9:30 meeting. But my daughters, they love their princesses. They love their beauty sleep. They love to wake up at 8:30. So here, like, I've grown up all my life on the go. Like, even as my parents, they are entrepreneurs themselves, I always was on the go, on moving, like, fast paced. But what I've learned in being a dad and like creating my own family, my household, is that you don't always need to be on the go. So as an entrepreneur, having those mornings where I can drop off my kids at 9:30, 10 o'clock, when they're meant to be at school at 8:30. So having those slow mornings gives you that balance, and then being able to pick them up at 4 o'clock, 4:30, or even earlier, or pick up my daughter. What's really hard as well is like when you're raising a young family, it's like sickness. Well, it sucks when my kids are sick, then my wife gets sick from looking after them, they're more sick. And then you run out of sick days, and then you just feel bad. You can't work, bro. I talked about, like if your households, if your own household is not, if you're not good, then how can you serve your family? And if your family not good, how can you serve your job? And so I always go back to my values, and to kind of filter how I allocate my time. And my wife holds me accountable all the time, and so when I'm doing too much, then I'm always humbled and brought back to my values, and so I'm getting better at it. But it's, people are talking about life balance, bro. There's no such thing, man.
I don't think there really is. And I was talking earlier about, and I'm keen on your thoughts on this. So I was kind of explaining this pathway I'm in, which is like, man, I got to trade in a bit of my family time. Like, and I don't mean forever, but I wonder what your thoughts are on this. I've called it extreme effort. I've said to my family, I think this is going to take extreme effort, because really you want to chase a dream. You think it's just going to happen. It's not. You've got to force it into existence, and that's going to mean way more out than in. And I don't see, because I technically agree with everything you're saying, like around this idea of setting your hierarchies properly. But that's until the bank account's not winning. And that's until... So I don't know, man. I'm keen on what you're saying.
I'm keen to challenge you on that too, bro.
Please.
Because I listen to a podcast like daily. His name's called Ryan Pineda. I don't know if you listen to The Wealthy Way. He's a Christian entrepreneur. He's a professional baseballer playing for Oakland A's. But with the baseball league in America, there's like multiple tiers. You earn like at the bottom, you earn bugger all. Anyways, he was able to build. He started couch flipping, and then from couch flipping, he started flipping houses. So he was making more money couch flipping than playing professional baseball. And then he started flipping houses, and he started getting into property, and now he's got a massive multi-million-dollar property portfolio. But he's diversified his businesses and different he's diversified his business portfolio, where he's quite a successful entrepreneur. But one of the things he talks about in his podcast is he was able to build an empire whilst just working in between 9 to 5. He sets parameters, and one of the things I've been learning, especially learning from other successful entrepreneurs, is that there's a time to work hard, but also through limitation brings innovation. So when you limit yourself, like let's say you're limited with time, you got to maximize your time and that's when the real innovation comes through. And so that's what I actually found when cash flow short, that, man, how am I going to make money? And so, I would like to challenge you. Like, he built his multi-million-dollar business. He actually had one day a week where he took off work whilst building his businesses. And that's something I admire about his business journey and want to fulfill too. Like, don't get me wrong, there are nights where I stay up till 3 doing work because something's due the next day. But I think what entrepreneurship does is allows you to get the time and freedom to actually create the lifestyle you want. But it's always going to be hard, just like at the start, building it. And I guess we're still kind of in the early stages of us starting our thing. So, but eventually, I want to buy my time back, because that's what's limited, right? And so, I'd just like to challenge you on that. I'll flick you that podcast too.
No, do it, because I'm obviously, part of why I'm doing these sessions is to try and pick up things of how different people process it, and that's been my kind of way to podcast for years. When I was interested in philosophy, talk to philosophers. When I was interested in like how people process life, I'd talk to professors and whatnot. And at the moment, I want those skills. I want to acquire knowledge to be able to better understand it, because I've just, when you're an entrepreneur, you think a lot. You obviously like don't clock that time, but you're always thinking. And so, like I was sharing what I've been saying to my family, which is like, look, I might not be the same me for a short period here. And I think I'm doing that to, like, I think that's how burnout comes, is if you're trying to do too much. And
it's good that you're communicating that too,
well, I think I'm preparing.
Yeah.
I'm saying that I'll still be here every night.
Yeah.
I'm not going, luckily I don't have, the reason I podcast, because when I had a young family, I wanted to have a hobby and I wanted to be able to meet people, but I didn't want to have to go to pubs, clubs, and like all my mates were. So I'd just interview people and it was fantastic. And then it became my job. But like, I don't have anything else that I do. This is fun for me and this is kind of business. And so I've packed that all into one. But
that's exactly why I started a podcast.
And so, but please send me that podcast and maybe we can link it to this podcast, because we should be open to all types of ideas. And,
I really think that, it gives you the freedom, but I think at the same time too, like you talk about how you've kind of had that conversation with your family, right? But also your family will humble you too,
100%.
I think when I'm trying to fight it and be like prideful, because pride is a sin, and so and little kids too, especially, they humble you. So my daughter would be like, "Daddy, you're not listening," and then I just switch, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yeah." And so I think, don't be too hard on yourself too, bro. Your kids will humble you too.
100%. I guess that's the thing, is like, how hard do you need to be on yourself?
And I wanted to touch on that too, because I think it's also like an old school way of like, don't get me wrong, hard work pays dividends, right? But also working smarter, as cliche as it sounds, is just as good. And we've grown up in a society where, which is, to be successful, you got to work hard, you got to work these out, you got to work night and day. But a lot of some of these successful entrepreneurs have obviously worked hard, but worked smarter. And so I've always tried to admired those type of entrepreneurs that have been able to enable the lifestyle they want to live, but in a business model where they don't need to work 12-hour days. Because then, what's the point? I've seen like a number of quotes on Instagram where, what's the point of leaving your job and then working 80 hours a week? Then you're a slave to then you just, it's the same thing. You become a slave to your job. It doesn't become a business. You're a slave to your business, where your business should enable you to live the lifestyle that you want to live. Yeah.
I think it's just where I'm at where there's just a blurring or weaving together of everything,
bro. And I think all these conversations you're having with other people that you meet will help you kind of decipher and see a different lens of how you want to operate yourself. And bro, just in the chats that we've had in the last hour, man, I really feel like there's some energy that we can continue to exchange,
100%.
Beyond this chat. So enjoying it so far.
That's good, man. I guess, the things you've learned since you've taken your leap, are you somebody who has people who mentor you? Are you somebody who's, I guess, what are the things we don't see? When we look online at you, we see the forward progress, the podcasts, the business stuff, the clips, and I mean, when you're coming home at night, I guess, what are those things that you're doing, maybe just outside of the faith conversation, because I feel like that's energy that's always with you, but are there certain things you're doing, routines and whatnot, to keep that armor strong?
I feel like I'm really a routine person. So like I had a shocker Feb. I shouldn't say shocker, because I needed that break. So I went to Fiji, and then I got my tattoo, my traditional tattoo peta, which but what's funny about my February was we went on holiday, and then I got the worst thing to happen before your tattoo, a skin infection. No, yeah, I know, on my leg, but lucky it wasn't the part I got tattooed on. But I was on antibiotics, and we got the tattoo, but so but that February I written off, like didn't work. I had some of my staff working on my businesses, but I come back March 1st on Saturday. I was like, I need to recalibrate and get back into routine. So for me, it comes Monday, go to my whiteboard, boom, what's the goal for the month? Okay, break it down, and then, okay, how I'm going to achieve this. Usually it's an income goal, obviously, because you need to pay the bills. So I have a certain income goal. Okay, through my business ventures, what do I need to do? Okay, I need to start setting up meetings, creating leads. And so, and then so in terms of routine, that's often going back to goal setting for the week or for the month, and bring it down week by week, and then how I'm going to do that. And then that kind of usually filters my week. So I think what I love doing is meeting people, but there's also time to do the work, and people don't often see that, like the proposals, the time on the laptop, the editing.
100%.
And so, routine is a big thing for me.
Can you break down goal setting for a minute? Because sometimes I feel like the Bits podcast miss that they say, these are the things I do.
Yeah.
But, just on that goal setting before, I'll just ask why. It was made clear to me about this idea of failing fast. I didn't get that, but I didn't get it. When someone said fail to me, that meant, if you say fail to someone like me, that means I get feelings of when my dad was cheating on my mum.
Yeah.
And that's a failure, a breakdown in trust.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand if someone had just said it's a small failure to tweak things.
Yeah. It's a lesson.
Yes, but no one said it.
Yeah.
They just said fail fast. I'm like, I don't want to fail, and so I've understood that now. So when I get a no, I can simply say why. And then I can cross-reference that and go from there. So I say all that, bro, and we can talk about failing fast, but to understand that words have power, right?
Yeah.
And if we say you're setting goals, someone might mean it over here different to you. So what does that mean to you?
So just to break down the goal setting for me, like, I'm not a by the book guy. I just need a vision. So when I left my entrepreneurship, and also how I work with my clients, so all good if you want to start a business, but if you're going to start a business and not have a vision for it, and usually how I start off it is I start with a client to say, well, what's the lifestyle you want to live? Because your business is meant to be, or this is how I see how you should do business. Your business is meant to enable the lifestyle you want to live. Does that mean that you want to have a lifestyle block in Franklin, a couple of sheep, affordable mortgage? Boom, you can put a number on that. Okay, what does that look like? Oh, that looks like, let's say for even number $150K a year. Okay, you want to go have $500 disposable income just to spend willy nilly. Okay, that's a number. I'll put that in. That's another $20K a year. But that's probably bad math. If you don't, I'm just trying to round up to $200K. But you want to go on 4 family trips a year to create experiences and memories with your family. Then that's going to cost another $30K. So that equates to $200K. So if $200K is your number, okay. $200K, you need to make $200K annually. Okay, what are the ways you're going to make it? Okay, so then obviously now that you know your purpose and the lifestyle you want to live. Okay, now you got to figure out the problem you're going to solve in your business. You need to understand the problem that you're trying to solve, and then the clientele your target market. This is marketing 101. So once you understand the problem, and this is what I help my clients do, then you figure out your target market, then you figure out your services and your offerings, and how your unique selling proposition, how you differentiate yourself from the market. And so, obviously that's how I do my goal setting. So I have my number, then I figure out, okay, who's my target audience, and because as I was building my career, I was building my businesses, not just for extra money, but then it actually taught me a lot of lessons and how to start things. And so because I know how to make money, and I have a vision of where I want to grow my businesses, I can allocate time and the resources needed. And usually because I value my time and I have a certain limited time, so then I look at, okay, how can I allocate my time to maximize the return on investment? And so for every hour spent, this can give me X, Y dollars. And so, I'm starting to get real technical about it, but it's like
good. It's good.
It's like you think about a pyramid, right? You have your goal, and then you have your 200K goal here, and then you have your businesses. So because I have multiple businesses, you might just have the one. So you have your one business, you need to make 200K a year. So what are the services and offerings that you have? So let's say you break the next layer of your triangle into 4 compartments. Let's say, for example, you run a car cleaning business, right? So you have 4 target markets. You got your corporate clients, you got your high-end luxury clients, and then you got your everyday people. So the biggest bang for buck is probably commercial, because you got a fleet of vehicles. So then you say, okay, I'm going to deliver 10 packages to 20K packages. 10 XYZ packages. So this corporate client, which will give me this income, and it takes this much time. So this leaves me that means I can do 2 luxury packages for the luxury sports stars and maybe 10 of these smaller clients. That equates to the 200K goal. Boom. And then you got to sell, which is another conversation.
Yeah.
How do you sell that? But like, I like to look at goal setting like that. Because but it's always changing, right? You always have to pivot based on the climate. And so, that's how I kind of break down goal setting.
And it's kind of like having the end in mind.
Yeah, of course, always.
But for years, it's actually, to be transparent, it still doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
The closest I can get to is I want to build something valuable enough to be able to sell it. And I've set a number for that. But I have not done any more work on that. I probably should.
Yeah.
But, the other thing I'd say is I didn't kind of like grow up thinking I would be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I was prepared to, have a career and do the things and live happily married. It just happened to be that now I'm like going down this pathway and I really enjoy it. And it allows me to be with people and it allows me to have positive impact. And I'm like, man, I've got to upskill on these other areas because I think that's the thing that, do you follow Stanley Henry?
Of course.
So, that's right.
Bro, he's the man.
He's the man.
He's the man. Is he on your podcast?
Yeah, he's been on the podcast.
Yeah, I need to. Stan, I'm going to ask you for a podcast.
That's right, man. Stanley, you're up.
In his new office.
That's right. And, what I didn't know about him, which became clear in the podcast, is that he ran hotels for 10 years. So guess what he knew how to do?
He's his hospital.
Run a team, run spreadsheets, deliver on time, and do everything at scale. And I'm like, oh, that's why you can do what you can do. But if you're not careful, you go into these spaces thinking like, I've just got to hustle, but you don't. It's good to hustle because your idea will drive you, but you've also got to acquire the skills to be able to deliver.
Yeah.
And that's why I think chats like these are interesting because you're saying things that are registering to me and hopefully at other people out there. What about failing fast? What's your thoughts on that?
I think failure, some people attach their failures as their identity, and that's often the flaw of like how people view failure. And I just speak for myself, like, I'll send something to a client and feel very anxious and any feedback I'd be like, is this because I'm a blah 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 XYZ this about myself? So you really gotta look at why you feel like that. And that often is like trauma from whatever happened in your life that made you feel inadequate. So you really got to tackle why that first before you can see failure as an opportunity. So like for me, I always see failure as an opportunity. And people, and this is what I say a lot too, like people don't often resonate with your success. They resonate with your pain and failures because, and so like I shared a clip of me, one of my first clips, which was my first podcast with Pasi. I shared about how I took on a lease, to try create a different business model for one of my businesses and not just rely on funding. And that was a failure. And it taught me a lot of business advice around negotiating a lease, getting a lease taken over and all of that. And that journey really taught me a lot about myself and what I needed to sort out before I could start growing. And so right now is the thing I fear is not taking that step. So like, I don't like to be comfortable, and my wife hates it. But I'm just wired differently, and I think it's the energy and drive you talk about as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But I also want to touch on the hustle part. Like, it's good to hustle, but have a plan and also have a end game. You talk about selling businesses, and I've kind of changed my mindset around, starting a business. You can run a business, but there's a lot of sweet equity. But if you're not transferring that sweet equity into knowledge and how you can do things better, then you're not learning. And so I'm always trying to constantly learn. And like, you look at the most wealthy people, they make money off making other people money. What is it?
True, right?
Alex Simonzi, he acquires other people's businesses, and then he gets some shares in their business and grows them, and he gets dividends from that. I read a book from 50 Cent, 50th Floor.
I'm halfway through.
Yeah. So I don't want to kill it for you.
No, but go kill it.
Oh, well, or maybe it's this other book he talked about. So 50 Cent did a deal with the vitamin water. Coke owner now, but anyways, before Coke owned the vitamin water, they were going to do an endorsement deal with 50 Cent. If people don't know, 50 Cent is not just a rapper; he's a serial entrepreneur.
100%.
And he this deal he did with the vitamin water was that they pitched him a endorsement deal, and I think the line of the vitamin water was like 50 vitamins or something, and he, instead of taking the endorsement deal, he said, "No, I want a stake in the business," and I think he had 10% shares in the business. He got given. Fast forward, like a year later, Coke bought it, and he, got a massive amount. And so, like, I've been studying how other wealthy people do business and like educating myself, and like there's different ways of doing business, like acquiring businesses using other people's money, and it's just changing your mindset. And so, from those failures, it's really changed my lens and being real open. Because I've gotten over it's me, it's why I'm a failure. I've gotten over that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Does it? I guess I'll answer my own question and then ask you. Where I'm at today is that there's no option for this not to work.
Yeah.
That I want to give myself that constraint.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's the right one. What's your thought?
Yeah.
Do your things have to work? Like, what's on the line here for you?
Yeah. Well, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I say, the worst thing that can happen is like get a job. And that's actually not bad. You think about other people's circumstances. You think about other people's circumstances, and people are trying to find water. So people like perspective. Always like, when you're having a crap day, and like, man, that's why, like, I talk about going back to gratitude. Oh man, thank you, Lord, that I have a roof over my head. Thank you, Lord. Oh, thank you, Lord, that I am able to have, food on the table. Having gratitude is really important, and that's how I kind of filter it for me. Like, the worst case, I'll get a job. And bro, I've had those moments as entrepreneur. I'm jumping on Seek, and I've said to every time I jump on Seek, this sucks. This sucks. No disrespect to like people establishing their careers, but entrepreneurs that are watching this, they all know they would hate to work under someone else.
Yeah. Well, you know that you don't just work for somebody. They kind of technically own a part of you.
Yeah.
And that's once you've ripped that back, once you've taken that leap, it's hard to give it back.
Yeah.
And but there is a fiscal reality, right?
Yeah.
And that's the bit that, I'm not ballsy enough, if you like, but I reckon there's these type of podcasts, if we're talking about entrepreneur, it should be, well, let's show each other our bank accounts,
Let's show each other our overdrafts.
but I'm not in that zone. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, I think it's super interesting to explore what the good and bad things are about entrepreneurship. What's the bad things for you? What do you think if someone's watching a podcast like this might consider before they take that leap? I guess why not,
Well, like with entrepreneurship, you have to put yourself out there, and you're always going to catch flack. And it was funny because I shouldn't say it was funny. Like I've had some not necessarily backlash, but like I know that as my personal brand gets bigger, you're going to cop something.
Yeah.
You're going to have haters, and I've had people message me and give me some interesting answers. But I think what I learned too is to show grace. Like people can have their opinions, but they don't have power over you. And if you if that's having real estate in your head, then you obviously haven't built the mental fortitude to be able to handle yourself in entrepreneurship. And so I feel like if you're going to get into entrepreneurship, you need to handle those demons inside your head first, because it's a game that is a tough game. It's a and so it's a mental game, bro. It's mental. It's all mental, bro.
And I'm finding that entrepreneurship is putting demons in my head.
Yeah.
So you either bring it or it gets added. And what I'm finding really interesting is, like, you're kind of, not that I've asked you or that you've offered, but you're mentoring me in a very interesting way today, because I am surrounding myself, I think, with people who are willing to kind of only talk about the effort side of things.
Yes.
And if I'm honest with you, I think I am naturally somebody which is like, go with the groove, find the sweet spot. Don't, what were you going to say?
I got a saying, bro, you got to be uncomfortable with the uncomfortable. I love, like, I get thrills off like that. Like, I love being uncomfortable. Comfortable with the uncomfortable. I say uncomfortable with the uncomfortable. Be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I put myself in situations like that. Obviously, taking a leap of faith and pursuing this full time. There's a really uncomfortable territory, but the only way to grow is if you're comfortable, you're not going to grow, man. If you got it, so that's why I naturally put myself into, uncomfortable situations. Example of something probably more recently, or my tattoo actually, it's not business related, but like if anyone knows what the traditional Samoan tattoo, like they do, they have traditional tools and needles, and you like the markings on your body, it's all over your body in sensitive areas. And so January, I went back to the gym just to like put myself under duress and stress, as well as running business, to really challenge myself, because I knew that like the pain, I did it in 6 days, and like I've never been in so much pain.
Really?
Yeah, like I was crying in agony, and like not all the time, but I went through a period of getting tattooed where my mind was empty and all I was focused on was the pain. And you got to submit to the au, which is the instrument that, and so that's a non-business example, but that's an example of me putting myself in an uncomfortable situation. And what and as a Samoan male, right? And I'm a Matai chief as well in my family. Like these markings don't just represent yourself, they represent your family, and how, so now the challenge is for myself having these markings of what I do with it. And so I'm always going to have to be the one in my family or just in my own unit family to go out there and put myself in situations so that I can grow, but also for the people that I'm leading. And so, that's just a little example of that.
I love that example. And speaking about kind of guidance, mentorship, I like that the tattoo took you on a journey.
Yeah.
That there was lessons probably embedded in that, in this kind of submitting to the pain.
Yeah, it is. Like I described the malo fear as you're driving up to a house of pain and you're meeting different pains, and you can't fight it. You just have to meet them where they are and take it. And like there's different shapes and sizes of the au, which is the instrument of the needles, and like it can be like 30 needles wide to like just 20, 10, and you're meeting different pains. And so these are 10-hour, 12-hour sessions where you're just in pain and you only have room for that. And so when you think about the mental game, it's the same in business. Like you're going to be put through trials and tribulations. And so how are you building yourself to combat? And so like when I see an email saying like, get an email that I don't like, perspective. Oh yeah, that's right. I deal with it this way. Or show grace. Okay, show grace and humble yourself. And don't let pride, because pride is a sin, get in the way of you doing that, because it's going to just slow you down.
I'm laughing because I think in my head, the journey of the tattoo is actually a better explanation for entrepreneurial endeavor.
Yeah.
That it's within the pain that we're going to learn how to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You can identify yourself, as that, but you have to go through that journey.
Yeah, you have to.
And how many days was it? 6 days?
Yeah, 6 days. You're not really meant to do it. And it depends on the person, but I had a small window. Plus I had a skin infection, which delayed. So I like all the odds. So I can use it as another analogy too. You have all the odds stacked against you, but you just got to persevere and never give up. And you think about all the successful entrepreneurs, and if you read Alex Hormozi's book and listen to his podcast, he shares about where he had to make maybe 150K in 2 days, and he was able to do that or something like that. And you think about, and that puts things into perspective, and so I think always going back to the mental game and how you're building your mental fortitude, and
Absolutely.
just encouragement for you too, bro.
Thanks,
you know,
No, but it's interesting, because I think I sit in front of you wanting that challenge, and I think I'm somewhere on that.
You want a tattoo, bro?
I think I'm in it. I am kind of, where I don't know if.
Well, you'll be challenged, bro. When you don't have when you have the red color in your bank account, bro, that's a challenge.
Absolutely.
But do you have a home? Okay, so do you have hands? Do you have, you got all creativity, like, and I go back to what the Bible says, bro. God made earth in 6 days. He had and God made us in His image. So if we in God's image, God has the creativity that He's installed in us. So and I have another podcast guy that I listen to, bro, Myron Golden. Heard of him? He's a big Christian entrepreneur as well. But he talks a lot about there's a snippet that I'll send to you, but he talks about you're only limited to your own creativity. So he doesn't exchange time for money. He exchanges his creativity. So the more creative you can be, just how God created the earth in 6 days, that's how you can get more money and build your wealth. And so, like, I speak about creativity because I just recently started couch flipping as a kind of a tool. Bro, people love the content, man. So I'll just be making it. Like, people be messaging me, and I'm like, oh, I might as well keep making couch content. And I use it as a way to show people that, hey, you can start something. Like, if you have hands, if you have creativity, you can start something. And because I've done it, I'll give you the social proof that I can happen. Then I build that trust on my platform. Then that makes people want to gravitate towards me, and I exchange that energy, want to work with me. And it's not necessarily what I've learned in business in the last 4 months, is that it's not about, every conversation is not making it's about making transaction. It's about exchanging value and exchanging energy. Everything is about energy polarity, right? And so if I can exchange that, create that value for you, it will pay dividends back.
Absolutely.
And so I trust in that.
What's interesting is, in the entrepreneurial space, everything you say maps on. The only place it doesn't is in corporate. Because all of those things are BS. They're not like, I should be careful, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to throw shade on things, but from my observation, people are very quick to set values. And, they're pinching kind of Pacific and Māori words and Nanakitanga. And these institutes, and, specific ones, I guess I'm talking about, not generalizing, they don't live to their values, and that sucks, and so when you're talking, I'm like, absolutely, if you're on your own journey, it's like we're in that zone, and you have no choice. If you want to make it, you better make sure you look after everybody in your circle by, valuing them, by properly, especially in the podcast or content space, it's so obvious if someone's not comfortable on camera. And in podcasts, you can't kind of just fake your way out of it. People are going to realize who you are because it's about long form. It's interesting.
It's interesting you talk about that, because what I've learned in business too, and bro, you're gonna get burned, man. It's gonna happen, and it's about how you bounce back, and people kind of take advantage of you, and you need to catch the BS when you see it. And that's what's like, going back to like building building your mental fortitude, and I've been burned. I've been generally, like, when you meet me, like, I'm considered a generally nice guy, and like, one of the traits growing up, like, I was a people pleaser, like, always trying to put other people's please them before myself. So I had to learn that, because I needed to be the best version of myself. I had to look after myself first. And so I've learned that in entrepreneurship. I'm going to offend this person. But, bro, people's offense is on them, man. And so I think the corporate world, it's ruthless, and I think you have to put your armor on when you're going in those spaces and know who you are. And I'm still navigating that space too. But I know what you mean. Like, there's whether it's tokenistic or not, I always do business with people that align with my values. So if they don't align with my values, then it doesn't work. And if you don't, like, trust your gut feeling of,
Yeah.
When we just caught up, I was like, yeah, man, I click with this guy.
Yeah, cool.
And I've noticed that in podcasts too, like you can't just rock up and have an interview with someone. You have to click to have a conversation.
That's right.
Yeah. And so, that corporate world, it's ruthless, bro.
I think that's the danger, right? It works on a small scale because that's how it's intended.
Yeah.
But scaling, then you get into real danger territory, and I guess that's what I've been observing too.
Yeah, especially in market share, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of these corporates dominate the market because they dominate the market share. You just look at like the duopoly of the supermarkets. They don't want any other people to enter the supermarket game because they dominate the market share. And that's what I'm learning in entrepreneurship too. Like I've worked with other business people where one of the bros, he's like, bro, it's all about market share. So if you're introducing a new product and you're stepping on their toes, they'll either try to buy you out, just like Coke. They either try to buy you out or sabotage you. I shouldn't say sabotage, but it happens.
Absolutely.
It happens. And so that's why you just got to fail fast, learn from those lessons. And no one, I think if you're dwelling on like what other people are thinking or what other companies are doing, then you're taking away from yourself. Like no one can be Romero, no one can be Will. And so that should be your point of difference in the market. And it's just about how you scale that and how you differentiate yourself and sell your product. And that's another end game there too.
I heard something the other day talked about like sometimes you just got to hold on. You'll have these internal dialogue with yourself.
Yeah.
And I heard an entrepreneur saying that you've just got to sometimes hold on to some things and know that you've got your own idea of how things might work out. What do you think about that? Because I'm such an over communicator sometimes.
Yeah.
I think it's served me well for mental health.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing talk therapy all my life. As somebody who grew up kind of dyslexic, I had to speak to you to find out what was going on.
Yeah.
So I can't hold anything in.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to realize that maybe I do have that in my mind where that vision, I can't really explain it to others. I've just got to try and see if it will work. Does that register with you?
Yeah, I think there's value in like just listening, like whether it's listening to someone else's advice or listening to your own thoughts in your head. And there's also like, life gives you seasons. You have a season of growing your family, you have a season of building your career, you have a season on entrepreneurship, and it's understanding where you are in that season. And right now I'm in a season of waiting for because if God's put me in this position, there's going to be a blessing on the other side. So I just got to wait and be ready. And so I understand where I'm at in that season. And I guess when it comes back to what you were saying about, what was the question again?
I think we were talking about kind of like holding things in.
Yeah.
And, we're taught now these days to share.
Yeah.
But I have a deep sense of like, sometimes your ideas are so wild that they just make sense to you.
Yeah.
And that's okay to, there's a season for it maybe is the link.
Yeah.
And that you should hold on to it because you don't want to plant something at the wrong time.
Yeah. Oh, timing is a thing too. Also how you exchange those ideas. Like you think about this table, bro. I actually when I was planning to leave my job, I started like joining these entrepreneurship courses. And one of this course I was on the webinar, he talked about when you're on the entrepreneurship journey, your circle will become smaller. And so when people look at you and you see that you think differently, and they might take it the wrong way, and your circle becomes smaller, and then obviously you think about this table, who you're going to have at your table. And so I feel like it's really important knowing your trusted advisors. Like it's a biblical thing too, having your trusted advisors to share and exchange those ideas. And sometimes you got to be real careful in who you share that, because you might share something and then they take your idea. But going back to no one can be Romero. And so that's how I see some of my business ventures too. Like one of my businesses, Pop-Up Play, like I created that model 6 years ago. We simply pop up and create free play activations for the community. And then I'm seeing other community organizations say pick up and play, and like literally the same thing. But I always go back to myself and say, oh, but they would never deliver pop-up play the way I deliver you know. And so, yeah, it's just going, having your trusted circle around you. It's going to be lonely, but sometimes it's good to like have that internal dialogue with yourself and bank those ideas, because then you'll meet someone they like, you just click, and then you just have that gut feeling where you can share. And what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think that's the advantage I'm realizing about having God on your team.
Yeah,
so you can have that one-on-one chat, and you don't even have to say it out loud, right? You could just do that internal, and yeah, it's funny, having a lot of content I'm coming across is opening up space for that conversation. And so it's something I'm interested in, continuously exploring. But at the same time, man, it's like, I think where I've been thriving is by not setting strict boundaries for myself and floating in between spaces. And also I love that conversation around seasons. I think there's a real interesting thing there too. I think it's interesting that your tattoo was 6 days. God created everything in 6 days.
True. I didn't even think about it like that.
I like the idea that maybe
that's a t-shirt brand. I want to make another business. That's biblical. Because usually I like a lot of the business lessons that I learned from the Bible. Like the King Solomon, was the wealthiest person in the Bible. I'm pretty sure, and he's what I was talking about, trusted advisors. He was a trusted advisor, and he served people. Kingdoms will come and give him gold and sheep and cows for his advice. And so, a lot of the biblical principles around entrepreneurship, I get from the Bible.
Yeah, mentoring.
Yeah. Just need to remember my scripture. Sorry, Pastor.
I guess the final thing I like to ask people, and we'll see how this goes, is I work with a lot of young people, and I try and be a positive person in their life who's older than them. And what I mean by that is to not ask for more or less than what is required. I feel like what's tricky for young people is to know who they serve and what's going on, and it's not so obvious. And I think, look, I have my own beef with the education system and piling people in a hall and getting a guest speaker to come and speak to everyone. It's why I much prefer this type of methodology, is to let's go one-on-one, man, and we'll see where we get to together, you know? And I think if you were to look at science, it would even back that up. I think if you were to look at scripture, it would back that up. And I think it's a fairer thing, but there's something weird that no one thinks this is a thing. But of course, if I'm a counselor and you're a patient, we're in therapy. But it's no different to us talking. It's still talk therapy. We just call it podcasting. I say all that because I want to know what's useful for a young person who might listen to this podcast. And actually, if it's good enough for a young person, it's good enough for an old fart too, right? So what would your thoughts be, like a piece of advice, something you've learned that you know to be true, that you'd be totally comfortable sharing on this podcast? It could be someone looking to improve their life, looking to, transfer that into their business. Think about the idea of mentorship and tie those two things together. Does anything come to your mind when we're talking? Yeah,
I think that's a good question to wrap up our conversation today, because I mentioned a number of things that, that have helped me in my journey. And when I think about mentorship and what I would say to, let's just say, this is what I would say to my younger self. As I'm thinking about that, I think identity, knowing your identity and who you are and who you want to be on this earth is really important. And I think we live in a society today where the world, there's a lot of influence. You get like advertising, marketing, ads, you get influencers, you get social media, you get what's happening at the school politics. And it's what's really important is, when I reflect on my younger self, is having that foundation and knowing who you are. And I guess once you do that, once you know who you are, but also being confident in yourself to give it a go. I think, like we talked about, how being comfortable with the uncomfortable. If you're comfortable, that's all good. But if to grow, you need to give it a crack and give it a go. And going back to the fail fast, you can fail fast, but that failure is not part of your identity. It's about learnings and looking at things and being optimistic. So I think, if I was to say anything, it would be that, as I'm talking to my younger self. And I think another thing too is like, and giving it a go, you have those lessons that you can learn. And that's why I'm always big about giving things a go and learning from it, so other people can learn as well. And so, a bit all over the place, but know your identity, give it a go, and learn about yourself. I think that's really important.
It's been awesome to kind of get to know you online.
Yeah.
It's been way more awesome to get to know you in person. I feel very lucky that there are things that kind of help connect us. Maybe in our case, it's an algorithm that's selected to introduce us.
I was picked up quite fast from, because I think there was I wasn't pushing everything on LinkedIn, and it was only until I started publishing on LinkedIn. You came up, and bro, I was like, of course, keen. I'm keen to learn more about your work, bro.
Absolutely. Well, look, I think I've really enjoyed this chat. Hopefully, it's one of many. Thank you for sharing some insights on this podcast and being open to catch up. And I personally can't wait to see where your journey goes. I think it's awesome. It's going to be hugely successful and cool, because if my stuff doesn't work, I can come work for you, or vice versa, because surely, while I love the idea that you only have to get it right once, and so again, where I think we agree really firmly is that those who quit can't have a chance.
Never give up, man.
That's maybe one of the biggest pieces of faith to ever have, is to not quit, because lots of people do, and that is an option, right? And it takes some real courage and support and luck to not quit, and today you've helped me not quit, so thank you, bro.
And also like to thank you, bro, and I appreciate your vulnerabilities to share your journey, and it's given me some insight into who you are as a person and what you want to be. And bro, I'm looking forward to exchanging value, and we're going to be doing business, bro.
Awesome, brother. Thank you.